if he truly thinks that Trump is a narcissist, con man, psychopath, all the words you've used, what should he have done?
In this video from the Patrick Bet-David podcast, Patrick Bet-David talks with Joe Walsh about being a never-Trumper. Joe Walsh is a guy that used to support Trump and then has turned course to be a never-Trumper. This is an old video, but Patrick Bet-David is doing what he does and sort of has the blinders on to defend Trump, and he just refuses to see the writing that is so plainly on the wall. Now, again, this is an older post, but I think it's the same MO of Trump apology that Patrick Bet-David has always done. Anyway, let's watch this together. I'll have some opinions, and then I want to know what you think in the comments.
Illinois 8th District Congressman, also got a podcast called White Flag with Joe Walsh, as well as same title as your book that you got there as well. Okay. A few things you've said. I just want to kind of preface the podcast so they know some of your famous quotes. Okay. Yeah. This guy in the White House stands for everything I'm against. Okay. And you were talking about Trump, not Biden. Trump is a narcissist. Okay. Obama is a Muslim. Now, you said that years ago, and then you had to kind of backtrack a little bit. Yeah. Every time Trump opens his mouth, he lies.
Yeah.
I know DeSantis, deep down inside, he's not a Trumper. If Donald Trump runs for president, no Republican will challenge him for nomination. The Republican Party is a cult. Donald Trump is a horrible person. So, in other words, you don't say controversial stuff a lot. You're very diplomatic and chill and easygoing. So, now that you know who he is, Joe, great to have you on the podcast.
It's an honor to be here with both you guys. Seriously.
Yes, great to have you on, man.
And Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Now we know Tom knows one-liners from movies
and other
specifically
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men. So, you know, for the audience that doesn't know, maybe, you know, give a little bit about your background on, you know, what you did, you ran, why you supported Trump, why you turned against him, and then why you supported Biden and where you are today.
So it's a weird... Do I need to watch my language?
Not at all.
Joe, you've never watched your language. Why start today? 60 years old. Why start now?
What a stupid question. It's a weird fucking journey that nobody else has been on. I got elected to Congress. I was the big Tea Party guy. I went there and I raised hell. I'm still a Tea Party guy. I left Congress. I got booted out of Congress. I voted for Trump in 2016 because I knew why people in this country were pissed off, because both parties suck. Our politics is broken. Government's too fucking big. So I understood why Trump got elected, right? And I voted for him because of that. His people were my people. He gets elected, I start to pay attention to him, and I realize he's an utterly corrupt, criminal, horrible human being. At the time, I'm on the radio when Trump gets elected, 200 stations all over the country. I'm on Fox News every day, and I begin to speak against Trump. And when you do that as a Republican back then, you're done. So within a couple years, I was done because I just said I couldn't support this. And then I dedicated myself to doing everything I can to defeat him. And I voted for a Democrat for the first time in my fucking life in 2020. Not because I like Biden. He's too old. I don't agree with his policies. But to me, Trump's a danger. So I'm a politically homeless, still conservative, who just can't stand where my former political party is right now.
Do you regret voting for Biden?
No, gosh, no, not at all. Yeah.
You don't regret voting for Biden?
Well, yeah, it was an easy vote because, and you may disagree with me, Patrick, but I consider Trump to be an existential threat. So if you're like me and you think that, you got to vote for the only person who can beat him, even if you don't like him.
So let me ask you, what was the tipping point for you? What did Trump do for you to say, I don't like this guy, boom, I'm flipping?
I screwed up in 2016 because I didn't pay attention to him.
What do you mean you didn't pay attention? How could you not pay attention to the guy? He sucked all the oxygen out of the room. You were paying attention.
No.
Maybe you chose not to pay attention?
I chose not to.
Okay.
I didn't like him as a man, but I really didn't know that much about him. I never watched The Apprentice. But again, remember, I'm a big conservative voice. I'm on the radio all over the country. I can see he's going to win the Republican nomination. All my listeners are supporting him. I'm with my listeners in what we need. But I really didn't take him seriously. And by the way, that was a shitty job of mine. I should have. Once he got elected, and I started to pay attention to him, and I realized that he lies every fucking time he opens his mouth. And it to me, it didn't seem like he had the interest of the country in his. He didn't care about the country. He only cared about him. The final straw was Helsinki, the summer of 2018, when Donald Trump stood in front of the fucking world and said, "I'm with Putin. My own people can go jump."
Yeah, I think it's interesting to hear somebody who has supported Trump talk about the disillusionment that started to happen, right? I mean, I think on the left, there's no shortage of people that see what he is doing, not what he is saying, although what he is saying is certainly bad enough, but it's all over the place. Like sometimes he says reasonable things and sometimes he says absolutely crazy things. But what he's doing is very clear. And a lot of times people who support the president just don't seem connected to reality. They insist the talking points that are handed down to them. And I'm like, but that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. It's interesting to hear somebody who kept his eyes open.
I went on the radio that night and I said, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he's not reelected. And the minute that happened, I began to lose my radio show.
So you said you weren't paying
Helsinki was the final straw.
You said you weren't paying attention to him, but rolling up to the election, certainly you knew after he got because right before the election, the turning point for me of realizing how serious it wasn't that he won the nomination.
Yeah.
What was the contrast, and it wasn't Fox, it was all networks, the contrast between the crowds that Hillary was pulling and the crowds that Trump was pulling. It was crazy. And at that point, my switch flipped in terms of my, not supporting or not supporting, but my switch flipped on my Vegas odds making side of my brain. They're like, wow, this guy could do it. I don't think he will. I think there's too much of a machine with Hillary, but he could do it because I was looking at voter enthusiasm. What was your turning point coming up to the election where you say this might happen? When you say you weren't paying attention to him.
And again, it's all relative. Like I didn't pay a lot of attention to specifically him. Obviously, I'm a major political figure at the time, so I'm paying attention to the fucking race. I knew at the first Republican debate that Trump was going to win the nomination. When Donald Trump stood up and did his thing, and look, guys, I don't come from the Republican establishment. I'm a Tea Party hellraiser. And you had Jeb up on that stage.
Looking like yesterday's lunch.
Yeah.
No inspiration whatsoever.
Yeah, Jeb and Marco and all these guys up on stage sounding like just fucking politicians. And Trump gets up there and says, I'm going to build a fucking wall. I'm keeping these people out, blah, blah, blah. And he's throwing insults at people. And all the Republican establishment people were telling me, that's horrible. We cannot nominate this guy. But everybody who called into my radio show said, Joe, it's about fucking time. I knew then Trump was going to win the nomination. I think I knew a couple months before the general election that he was going to beat Hillary because Hillary sucked. Hillary was the poster child. Look, we live in a populist moment, guys. Americans are rightly pissed off at our politics. Hillary was the poster child for establishment politics. I knew he was going to win 2 minutes before. I felt like 2 months before. I felt like he could.
Yeah, that's interesting. So 2018, when did they start talking about the Russia hoax? When did that start? That started right off the bat. No, 2016. Immediately. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So
that was a disappointment too.
Yeah. So did that at all? Were you ever like, if somebody were to go audit to see all your recording on the radio, would there ever find a time that you believe the Russia hoax was taking place? Did you ever buy into that?
No.
Like, let's just say we do an audit right now, and it comes back and it says, here's what Joe Walsh said about Russiagate. He believed it. He said, yeah, he collusion. We should put him in jail. We should impeach them. Would any of those snippets be found of you saying that?
No. Well, I actually don't know where the question's coming from because I believe, and I think it's fact, that Russia fucked with our election in 2016 to help get Trump elected. I think that's obvious. And after Trump won in 2016, and then it became public, like Russia did this, Trump's first instinct was to get pissed off about it. Trump just got fucking elected. And our intelligence people come out with, I mean, everybody around Trump knows that Russia fucked with that election to help get Trump elected. The only one who couldn't admit that is
saying
Trump.
that. Stop. You
It's
can't
true.
Stop. You can't say that. So okay.
Well, I
so
just did.
But I know you can say that, but it doesn't mean it makes it true. You can say that and make a statement like that.
Just to interject, there's two separate things you're talking about.
Yeah.
Did Russia meddle in the election with bots and Twitter? That is
Versus-
separate. It was, did Trump collude with Russia? Because
And it's Facebook.
those are two separate
Yeah.
things. Did Russia have bots and Twitter and all? Yes. Did Trump collude? That's a separate question. And that's essentially what Pat's saying. He's saying that's what was
but is
marketed, but that wasn't true.
But is Pat
I love this guy. Just like Patrick Bet-David is a Trump apologist, this guy is the Patrick Bet-David apologist.
acknowledging that Russia fucked in the election? Do you believe
I
that?
will acknowledge that U.S. has participated in every election they can in the world, and I would acknowledge that China, Russia, and any major empire in America, in the world, has been involved in other elections. I would say everybody does that. So what that means doesn't give your statement a lot of credibility.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect example of whataboutism. And not just whataboutism, but the Kremlin's, Putin's whataboutism, right? Well, what about the United States? The United States meddles in other people's stuff all the time. So, I mean, can we really talk? That's like, if you look it up in the textbook, that's the example.
What I will say is the following. Was there ever a time where you tried to get closer with Trump to get a job on his administration, or you wanted to meet with him, or you wanted to have any kind of a, hey, why don't you come on my radio show? And he turned you down multiple times, or he didn't offer a job where you got offended? Were you ever offended?
There was a time, because remember,
Okay.
Pat, I'm a conservative. I'm not a Republican establishment type.
Your Tea Party, Michelle Bachmann, like your Tea Party.
Bachmann, me,
Yeah.
I mean, we,
Justin
Alan,
Amash.
Yeah.
Alan West, Justin Amash,
Yep.
we were the guys. Yes.
But the problem is, you guys are like fossils at this point because
But,
you're like.
but I want to hear his answer. I want to hear his
go
answer.
ahead.
I want to hear his answer.
So look,
When I said, let me remind you again.
Yeah.
I asked, were you ever offended because he didn't give you any job on his administration or didn't want to get on your show? Was there anything behind closed doors that he didn't keep his promise to you that offended you to say, if you don't do this, I'm going to turn against you, and you did?
two things.
Yeah.
You're clearly thinking of something, so I can't wait to hear it. And just again, I apologize because I've said a gazillion fucking things, and I've probably forgotten half of what I said. I remember wanting him to succeed. I remember having friends in the administration, and when he first got elected, and Sean Spicer was just a piece of shit, and he sends Spicer out there to lie every fucking day. I remember talking to a few people saying, my God, Trump needs an honest, good, tough spokesperson. So I'll become Trump's spokesperson. I forgot who I said that to, but early on in the administration, I said it would be great to be that for Trump. That's the only one I think I can remember. But yeah, initially, because I knew why Trump got elected. His people were my people. I wanted him to succeed.
Yeah, but so then that reveals something. So because...
But that doesn't impact at all.
Give me a break, Joe. So
Fuck no! Don't give me a break.
Yeah.
I've been through fucking hell. I say what I believe.
By choice, though.
Exactly.
You chose to do this. It's not like nobody forced you. This is America. Nobody can force you to.
No, I chose to do what I did.
And your choice was, hey, I think, because what I think of you, I think of Mooch. And Mooch is a friend. I like Mooch. Mooch and I have spent time, and we've had him on, but similar situation. Maybe Mooch did get the job and you didn't get the job, but you got the job. And then, 11 days later and 7 days later, and that's Trump's challenge.
You're talking about Scaramucci.
Yeah, of course. He knows what I'm talking about. So, all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're fired. I mean, that's a public humiliation when you do that. Trump could have handled that in a very different way. To fire a guy that quickly after you hired him, there is responsibility in the person who hired. So if you fire somebody that quickly, you didn't do enough due diligence to hire the person initially. So there's responsibility on both sides. But, there are a lot of people on both ends of the aisle. On the left and the right. A lot of times when somebody flips on Biden, or you flip on Obama, or you flip on Bush or Trump or whoever, behind closed doors, there was conversation to say, hey, if you back me up, I'm going to figure out a way to get you a job. Wink, wink. and then they don't, and then you're like flipping out saying, I can't believe you didn't do this. I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. So those are the types of stories that the public never knows about. We don't know about. I'm not telling you there's credibility behind my...
No, there's not.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, by the way, just so you know, Pat, everybody in my position who came out and said, I'm against Trump, they did it for their own reasons. Maybe some people did it for money, for a gig, for a job. I don't know why Mooch did what he did. I'm telling you that when I came out 5 years ago and said, I can't support this, I did it for no other reason than I believe that.
That can't be possible.
Bullshit.
Can't be possible.
Bullshit.
You ran 2 years later for president. That can't be possible. You're a smart guy.
I ran against
That's
him,
the point. So
Pat.
that's the point. So you have to come out 5 years ago to go and say, I can't stand this because you're thinking the Republican Party is divided, and you're thinking you're going to get the side that's against Trump.
No, that's wrong.
Which part is wrong?
I never said, and I don't believe the Republican Party is divided. It's never been divided. It's Trump's party.
Wait a minute.
I've acknowledged that publicly.
But
by the way, can I hear myself a little bit more?
Yeah.
Because I'm an old man and I'm
Lincoln
deaf.
Project. So go to Lincoln Project.
Talk to the Lincoln Project people.
Yeah, but
they're not me.
I'm not saying you're Lincoln Project.
Of course not.
But the Lincoln Project people are against Trump, and that was a community that some people banked on. They said, okay, if I think
it wasn't my community.
Well,
the Lincoln
it's more
your
your
community?
it's your
I've got nothing to do with it.
It's more your community than MAGA.
No, they don't. No, well, hold on.
Yeah.
I don't have anything. Guys, this is a big, diverse world. A lot of people support Trump for a lot of reasons. A lot of people oppose him for a lot of reasons. I don't do anything with the Lincoln Project. And by the way, some of those guys have enriched themselves. Look at my tax returns. I have not. Pat, let me just get this out of the fucking way now, because I've been through fucking hell for 5 years.
By choice.
And no fucking regrets.
Yeah.
And I would do it again. And look, my friend, you can disagree with what I did and everything I've said, but no regrets. I did what I believed, okay? But when I did that, I knew I was going to lose everything. And
did you
I did.
Yes.
Yes. I lost my radio show. I lost my livelihood. I lost my source of income. Let me continue and then jump on me. I lost any hope of a future in the Republican Party. I lost ever being on Fox News again. And I've received death threats on a weekly basis because of what I did.
You don't sound like a dumb guy, so I have a hard time buying that.
I'm not.
You don't sound like a. You don't. Let me just give you my position. Though. I'll give it to you. I'll tell you exactly my position. And by the way, you're on a podcast where we talk. You can push back. You can call me out.
No, we're already doing it. Pat. I'm enjoying this. I fucking like this.
Yeah. So this is how
I like this.
This is why we shut the close, so you can't even run out. By the way, we got security out there. You're not going to leave this freaking.
You're
vault.
like an S&M guy.
But let me say this to him. Okay, there is no way I sit there and I listen to a brain that works as fast as yours does. You're witty. You're going. You're not dumb. Okay.
Fucking much coffee.
So set that aside. So the dumb part's not aside. But maybe the strategy you took.
There was no strategy.
Wasn't the best strategy.
Hello.
Yeah, I agree.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
I concur.
Yeah.
Financially and every other which way, it was a stupid thing to do. But I did it, my friend. Adam, I don't know why this is hard. And maybe you just don't believe this. I did it because I believed it was the right thing to do. Why is that?
You're saying there was no strategy, you just went with your gut.
Completely.
Okay, but you also saying that you have no regrets.
None.
You must have some regrets, Joe.
Doubts, no regrets. No, I mean, Adam, what am I going to say? Yeah, I took a big hit. I could be back in Congress. I could have a show on Fox News. I'd be on 500 radio stations around the country. By the way, Pat and Adam, in my position, the easiest fucking thing to do is to say every day that Donald Trump walks on water. If all you care about is clicks, ratings, getting elected, that's the easiest thing to do. I couldn't do that because I just didn't believe it.
To me, that summarizes the whole thing in one sense, right? I mean, that's what Patrick Bet-David is doing. That's what Tim Pool is doing. That's what all of these right-wing lickspittles are doing, is they're just cashing the checks, right? They're just cashing the checks. They're saying whatever is going to fluff it up so they get more, pats on the head from the administration. And it's all about chasing clicks. And the Fox News, they're just saying what the administration wants to hear. And, we're going right over the edge of the waterfall. And they're just cashing their checks until we hit the bottom, I guess. But I can't, this seems like the simplest thing in the world, but I can't tell you. This is an older video. I can't tell you how refreshing it is to hear somebody saying, like, the emperor has no clothes. And I just, I see it, and I can't bring myself to say otherwise.
That's all, Adam. That's all.
Yeah, I think sometimes for all of us, everybody, sometimes the masses can confuse you. Sometimes the masses make you think you're wrong. And it's very, very hard to stand up against masses. The masses can get up and they can say, let me tell you who this person really is. And you're kind of sitting there saying, I don't know if that guy's that guy. Let me tell you who this person is. After a million times of saying that, you may sit there and say, maybe I'm the dummy. Maybe that guy is really a bad person. And then you get recruited into the masses. The hardest thing to do in life is to not get recruited into the masses. It's one of the hardest things you can do because you're alone. You have to stand alone. And that is not easy to do.
So that is so crazy that I have to take a minute here and just marvel at it. This is Patrick Bet-David saying, you can't get swept up in the masses, the mass hysteria, right? You can't get brainwashed by the propaganda. Patrick Bet-David is saying this, right? I think that the people that support this president really don't understand that they've drunk the Kool-Aid, right? I think they're so deep in whatever their media bubble is, they don't get it.
So during that time, you are not the only person that did what they did. There's a lot of people that did what they did, that turned against this guy. And then when the Durham report came out, they're like, oh, shit. Okay, so I got to spin this and I got to say, we know Russia was involved in the election. Yeah, they've always been involved.
Can I make one correction to what you just said?
Go for it.
I don't know of anybody else who came from the hardcore mega Tea Party world, high-profile guy like me, who left that world.
Justin Amash?
Justin Amash
bailed in 2017.
Hold on. Justin Amash never voted for Trump. Justin Amash never supported Trump. I supported Trump, voted for him, and cheerleaded for him during that. I love Justin. Justin.
Isn't he a libertarian today?
Yeah.
He's a libertarian.
But finish your point. You were making a point before.
Yeah, he left the Republican Party. But Justin, to his credit, was a never-Trumper from the beginning. All these Lincoln Project guys and most of these never-Trumpers, they were never hardcore mega Tea Party Trump supporters to begin with. I left that world. I don't know of anybody else who did that. That's all.
Pat, essentially what Joe's saying...
that he's not buying.
No, I don't know if he's not buying it. I think he's just pushing back, and this is fun. I think we're all having fun here right now.
Yes.
I think you are having fun in a weird way.
No, not weird. We need more of this, by the way.
Pat, my question to you is: Joe's saying he went with what he believed in.
Yeah,
and there's a level of respect to that. But what should he have done? Looking back in hindsight, if he truly thinks that Trump is a narcissist, con man, psychopath, all the words you've used. What should he have done? Should he have just towed the company line?
First of all, let's qualify these words: narcissist, sociopath, psychopath, whatever, bipolar, hypomanic. Take all these words. Mm-hmm. There has never been a president that ran for president that didn't think about himself so much that they were not a narcissist. So let's set that part aside.
Wow, we're going to stop there because that's another beautiful example of whataboutism. Oh, so psychiatrists think that Trump is a malignant narcissist? Hey, look, he's president. Every president's been a narcissist. What about every other president? I mean, if you can't believe the evidence of your own eyes, right? If it's not the tariffs, if it's not the sexual assault, if it's not the felony convictions, if it's not the fraud, if it's not the corruption, the shit coin, I'd do a video this long again just listing the corruption, putting family, the missile parade on his birthday he's going to do, wanting to annex Canada and Greenland. I mean, it's just Dictator 101, Project 2025, the lies, the incessant lying, the obsession with vanity and the tweeting himself as the Pope and golden statues of himself in Gaza. If you can't see it, it's an ocean of evidence of this. And you could say, well, Bill Clinton was a narcissist, but to this degree, right? I mean, Bill Clinton ran the country. I'm not defending everything Bill Clinton did. I'm not defending everything any president did. But you're telling me those guys were narcissistic and has any other president tried to overthrow an election and remain in power? Give me a break, Patrick. Give me a break, dude. You gotta wake up. It's gotten to the point where I'm starting to worry about your mental health. You're insane. Well, let me know what you think in the comments.